Gambia's National Assembly extends child birth registration periods to 30 days. The African Union praises Kenya's High Court for upholding the ban on HGM. And Nigeria's foreign investment inflows have significantly declined due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, this and more coming your way on News Desk. Hello, this is Africa TV and many thanks for joining us. I am Amadou Kante and now the news in detail. Now, members of Gambia's National Assembly have on Monday approved the amendment of Standing Over 70, which deals with citizenship, domestic violence, skin bleaching, among others. Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Daouda Jallow, sought clarification on the birth registration process that aimed at upholding the 30 days deadline for a newborn baby. Now, details of that in this report by Maria Macham.
Among the approved bills after consideration was the one on births, deaths and marriages, which makes it a duty on parents to register children once they are born to prevent statelessness. Failure of parents to comply with this provision could result to a payment of fine upon conviction. The bill dictates parents and guardians to report the birth of their children to the Alcalo, although it does not specify the method in doing so. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Daouda Jallow, emphasized the importance of registration of birth.
The intended purpose is to get the child to get registered. And there are people appointed in each district, health workers, that are in charge of registering birth, the end product of which a birth certificate is issued. So if we make the reporting point to be at the Alcalo's position, without this legislation going further as to what will the Alcalo do having received those oral, because the law is saying the report can either be written or oral. So if we make the reporting to be at the Alcalo's place, what are the follow-ups? Are we now going to obligate the health workers then to go to the Alcalos and collect those reports and then, so those details are not there.
He pointed out that the Ministry of Health will have to work on modalities on how the birth registration process should be done. The initial 14-day deadline for parents to have their newborns registered was extended to 30 days, a move well supported by the Minister of Justice.
There is a policy objective behind any legislation. You make it 60 days, parents will relax. And then eventually, we will have a lot of children that may not be registered on time. Children need to be registered at the earliest opportunity.
In the Gambia, birth registration is mandatory according to the Children's Act of 2005, as well as the Births, Deaths and Marriages Registration Act of 1990. It is by law that fathers of children born in wedlock register the birth of their children. However, where the fathers are absent or where the child is born out of wedlock, mothers are given 1 calendar month to register the birth of their children. The registration requires documents from the clinic, written confirmation from the Alcalo or attestation from a district chief. Reporting for iAfrica News, this is Mariama Cham.
And from the report there from matters of the National Assembly, next to South Africa, where the South African Information Regulatory Body is not relenting in its efforts to protect the privacy of South Africans, as it restricted WhatsApp from implementing its new privacy policy in the country. The new data policy of the world's most popular social media messaging app allows information to be shared with its parent company, Facebook, and other companies, which contravenes the country's privacy protecting laws, authorities say. However, some social media experts don't believe there is anything sinister about the WhatsApp's new initiative. Here's more details of that.
South Africa's information regulator is not backing down. WhatsApp's new data policy allows information to be shared with parent company Facebook and other companies, which contravenes the country's Protection of Personal Information Act.
With reference to the condition on specific processing and further processing, it seemed as if that there were some issues in particular there, as well as with aspects relating to retention, You know, we've always been told that a WhatsApp communication is encrypted, it's one way, and it will not be stored. But if you look at the policy, it actually does make provision for certain instances where a message may be intermittently stored, and it doesn't say until when.
WhatsApp is the most popular social messaging app in the world. It does, however, have more favorable policies for European users.
Prima facie, on the face of it, when one looks at the fact that there are two different terms and conditions and policies pertaining either to EU subjects or non-EU subjects, that on the face of it causes concern. They did acknowledge receipt of our correspondence where we've detailed what the issues are. So we are expecting a response within a reasonable time.
The social messaging giant delayed its policy implementation until May following a public outcry. Social media experts, however, don't believe there's anything sinister about the move.
WhatsApp is trying to find ways to actually improve their offering to us as consumers and to be able to then charge businesses for that improvement in offering. So think about this. If you wanted to order food online, instead of having to do it via an app, you could do it within the WhatsApp ecosystem and be able to chat to your delivery service on WhatsApp. But in order for that transaction to happen, WhatsApp now needs to be able to share some of that data with a supplier that you choose to speak with.
South Africans have meanwhile been trying other services, but it's not likely to dent the popularity of the easy-to-use app.
In truth, you do have some WhatsApp consumers maybe testing out Telegram and Signal, but with the lack of enough context and with an unfamiliarity with the ecosystem and a change of new learning, you're still going to find that people default to the platform they know best, to where their network is, and the network is sitting on WhatsApp right now.
WhatsApp has until July to alter its policy to fall in line with South Africa's amended Personal Protection Act. If it fails to comply, there could be hefty penalties to pay.
And from the reporter in South Africa, we come back home and report on matters of the TRRC. Now, a second warrant officer of the Gambian forces Monday confessed to participation in the transportation of 39 migrants that were bound for execution by junglers or hitmen. Now, in July 2005, a group of about 50 West African migrants along the River Gambia were allegedly killed by members of the special soldiers under the directive of former President Yahya Jammeh. Fatma Kasim tells us more of that in this report.
The warrant officer to Lamin Silla, who was a convoy driver during Yahya Jammeh's regime, told the TRRC he had been on posting in Kanilai when Tumbul Tamba called him for a patrol without a prior briefing. They headed to the residence of the late Baba Job, from where they began the strange moves.
Then he brought them and put them inside, and he tied them. Then I left the order and I stopped at some point. Then Sanamanjang and others were standing guarding my vehicle. The other vehicle also entered. They did the same thing. They did the same. What is that same thing? Same thing. When they put 4 in my vehicle, they put 4 in the other vehicle. Because Solomon got to coordinate. Because it's Solo who is coordinating it.
Silla saw no way out from this operation, as the order given was the only law for him. The group went back to Kanilai with 2 vehicles carrying 10 captives each, and then to the bush near a mini stadium.
Because Solomon is a guy like this, must start a fire guy. When Solo brought these people down, that's the time I saw him start firing. Well, I'm not going to coup. That's what you tell me. That must be tell me. As when he shot that person fell in the well, and he was crying. Grenade fire was come. That's the time they took a grenade and fired on him. Who did that? Malik. Malik who? Jata. Malik Jata.
A day later, the same sequence of events took place, according to his testimony.
When we reached and Solo told me that the well is here, he said that these people are rebels, we are coming to kill them. That's the time he dropped them down and start firing on them.
Who was in your batch, in your group this time around?
The same people never. The same people.
Who were they?
Sanamanjang Malik Jata and Solobojan. Sanamanjang Malik Jata and Solobojan.
And at this stage, you also knew that these people were going to be killed. Interpretation?
Yes, I knew, because this thing it was so painful, because I know that this what they did to them is not correct.
And they brought them down, and what happened?
So Solo gave orders for them to be shot, and they threw them in the well.
From February 24th to March 11, 2021, witness told the Gambia Truth, Reconciliation and Reparation Commission the West African migrants bound for Europe were held by Jammeh's top lieutenant in security services before being murdered by the Junglers, a notorious paramilitary unit that took its order directly from Jammeh. The TRRC remains the latest hope for a true account of events regarding the killings of the group, from which only one survivor is known. For iAfrica News, I am Fatoumata Kasim.
More witnesses continue to appear before the TRRC as the Commission resumes its public hearing on Monday, and we will bring you more details of today's testimony in our subsequent news edition. There's more news coming ahead, but for now we'll take a break and come back shortly with the remaining of the story. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Like other education or specialized training institutes in the Gambia, SNS Institute of Creative Design offers opportunities to fashion designers without prior training or certificates, shaping the next generation of fashion designers creating timeless designs by sketching out, creating, and merchandising clothing items and accessories. Fashion design graduates can go on to find employment in different institutions that are looking for designers. Graduates who wish to start their own business also stand a better chance of doing so with specialized training and certification. This institution does not just train and certify fashion designers, but offers career guidance, including job application and interview preparation to its graduates. Are you one of those who believe that taking the back way is the only way to success? Head over to wakawell.info/Gambia to find out more about safe migration procedures and local opportunities for education, employment, and entrepreneurship in the Gambia.
Welcome back, and once again thanks for joining us. Now, the African Union has on Sunday lauded a decision by the High Court of Kenya for dismissing a case in which a medical doctor had challenged the provision of female genital mutilation. The argument had been that the ban on FGM placed a limit on women's choice and right to uphold their culture. The court, however, ruled on Wednesday that the practice of FGM violates a human's right to health, human dignity, and possible instances of right to life. Here's more details of that in this report.
The AU Commission has termed the decision a clear demonstration of the commitment by member states to preserve, protect, and promote women's rights through laws, policies, and action. During the trial and ruling, African Union treaties, conventions, and discrimination against women were referenced to validate the retrogressive nature of FGM and the need to protect women and girls' rights. Female genital mutilation has been a top priority for United Nations agencies and non-governmental organizations for almost 3 decades. The Commission on Human Rights adopted a resolution condemning the practice. UNICEF estimated in 2016 that 200 million women living today in 30 countries, 27 African countries, Indonesia, Iraq, and Yemen have undergone the procedures. The medic, Dr. Tatu Kamau, challenges the constitutionality of the Prohibited of FGM Act, arguing that sections of the Act contravene articles of the Kenyan Constitution. She says stopping women from doing FGM under medical practitioners is denying them right to health care. She claimed to advocate for communities that practice FGM and women jailed for carrying out the right. The judges are not convinced with the arguments put forward by the petitioner and don't think it is justifiable in a modern democratic state. Ms. Victoria Maloka, the AUC Acting Director for Women, Gender and Youth, says the ruling is an enforcement of existing commitments to gender equality, moving from commitments to actions. FGM was officially banned in the Gambia in 2015, but since the enactment of legislation prohibiting the practice, among others, only 49% of women believe that the practice should stop, while the rest believe it needs to continue. In January 2020, the Gambia government and the UN system renewed commitment and accelerated efforts to achieve the SDGs. Part of that commitment is the drive to reduce the FGM prevalence rate in the Gambia from 76% to 0 by 2030. Female genital mutilation or cutting is the cutting of female genitalia or clitoris, usually without the consent of the individual. Razor blades, unsterilized knives, scissors are common instruments used in performing FGM, with a single instrument used on up to 30 girls. One of the cultural and religious reasons for justifying the practice of FGMC is in the reduction of promiscuity and ensuring virginity before marriage. But others argue it deprives women of sexual satisfaction and denies them rights to sexual health and pleasure. Reporting for iAfrica News, this is Mariama Cham.
And from the report there by Mariam Cham, finally to Nigeria next, because Nigeria's foreign investment inflows have significantly dropped in 2020 thanks to the COVID-19 global pandemic, according to the country's Bureau of Statistics. Now, the West African nation is faced with its lowest capital importation in 4 years, which has adversely battered the economy. Some economics observe that the inconsistency is largely due to weak economic regulations. Here's more details of that in this report.
The latest report from the Bureau of Statistics shows that Nigeria received $9.68 billion from capital importation in 2020, representing a 59.6% dip compared to the $23.99 billion recorded in 2019. Among other factors responsible for the decline in foreign investment was the COVID-19 outbreak.
This decline was essentially from COVID-19 because production was not taking place. So if production is not taking place, you cannot have value, increase in value. Even the diaspora remittances even reduced. Nigeria's access to capital reduced. Even our internally generated revenues, as in from crude oil production.
Crippling economic activities and stifling investments also contributed to the decline in capital inflows.
The crude oil sales that could have shored up the supply of forex has also suffered 60% drop in crude oil sales and revenue. So that's a major knock-on effect of a drop in the capital importation.
Nigeria faced one of its worst recessions in 2016, and that was the last time the West African nation recorded such low capital importation at $5.12 billion. The country is just edging out of another recession blamed on COVID-19 and dwindling oil prices. It's dealt a heavy blow on the economy, discouraging foreign investors.
You know, we've had constant rise in our inflation, and they don't like that because it means that if your money is here, by the next 12 months and the inflation is 16%, the value of their money will decline by 16%. So they have to, a combination of all of that is that they have to repatriate their money back, make yourself attractive to foreign people, investors, and then show less policy upturns, which they don't like.
Economic observers have also faulted weak fiscal policies for the unstable economy and decline in capital importation. They expect government to work towards a more predictable investment environment, ensure the ease of doing business in the country, and project sustainable policies that would make Nigeria a choice destination for foreign investors.
And from the reporter in Abuja, Nigeria, we finally bring this news bulletin to an end. But for more details on this and other stories, as always, you can log on our website on africa.tv. But for now though, many thanks for the privilege of your company. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and bye for now.
Assalamu alaikum musidal Gambia naɓe hande yewtere am addimi ɗo ko yewtidde ɓiɓɓe Gambia fof affaire o ñaw garanɗo en ɗum woni coronavirus COVID-19 oɗo ñaw ko ñaw mo ganduɗa o lor